What is up, you guys? Holding the Grim here, and this time of year again. It's time to talk about my top 10 favorite action figures of 2022. And this year, I stopped buying MC Marvel Legends besides two of them because I just lost interest in the MCU stuff. I stuck with I mostly stuck with Transformers. That's a bit of a foreshadowing. And I really enjoyed this year's releases of Transformers. This was a really great year for Studio Series and even the Legacy line. And for this list, I chose to only include figures that were released this year. So nothing from release in 2021, 2020, like all that. So I couldn't include the Sugarman Build-A-Figure, the AOA Colossus Build-A-Figure, and the Strong Guy Build-A-Figure. All three of these that I completed this year. And I also didn't want to include any repaints on my top 10 list because that wouldn't be fair. It's just a repaint. So, anyway, before we get into the top 10 list, obviously I want to go through some honorable mentions. And the first honorable mention I want to start with is this guy, Studio Series Premium Finish Optimus Prime. This is by far the best Optimus Prime figure that we have gotten from Studio Series. Okay, maybe Dark Knight. I'm getting that figure soon from the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. But this is a great figure to have. It's a G1 depiction with the movie aesthetic, and I don't like G1. Uh, Sue me. I grew up with the Bayformers, as you can see, and but I heard really good things about this figure, and I I did regret missing out on this figure when it was re-released when it was initially released. So I was perfectly happy and fine to buy the premium finish release, which I think has better paint apps. Like you see the painted back here and the dirty look on the arms. And overall, this is a really great figure to have and a really great figure to transform. But because this is a repaint, I really couldn't include it higher than an honorable mention. So that's so he's so then we have the MCU Namor and MCU Moon Knight from Marvel Legends, and I did make an exception buying these because I am a fan of the comic versions of Namor and Moon Knight, so I wanted to get these guys in because they looked really good, and even compared to the comic book figures. And while I am still mixed about the way this Namor looks in particular, the mustache, I did like Tenoch Huerta's interpretation of Namor as he was a really good anti-hero. But to me, this figure could have done a lot more. And this necklace here, I feel like could have been glued on there instead of being this loose piece. As for this Moon Knight figure, I really don't have much to say. I love this piece. Really nice sculpted details on the figure, but when I first opened mine, the right bicep popped right off when I tried to bend the elbows. I was able to fix it like immediately, and there's like no damage to it. But there are better figures on this list, which is why I'm only listing Moon Knight Namor as an honorable mention. And I also have the Marvel Legends Havoc, and I have two, so one's open, and we have one here mint on card. I like this Havoc. Okay, I love my Summers Brothers. I like the Vulcan body mold, but the butterfly joints could have been done better on that figure. And this is a I love the blast effects. Honestly, if it wasn't for the blast effects, I wouldn't have Havoc super high on as an honorable mention. Probably been one of my least favorite figures of the year. But this is a great depiction of the classic Summers Brothers, but it has gummy joints. So and that Havoc behind it keeps falling, which is really annoying. So that's why I can only put Havoc as an honorable mention. And then for my final honorable mention, we have the Transformers Studio Legacy Tarantulas. I like this guy. I genuinely love this guy. It's pretty accurate to his counterpart, to his Beast Wars CGI model. A really good transformation, and the colors are pretty accurate. Even the Beast mode is accurate too. As far as Beast modes go, when now that they're going for the realistic Beast modes, I think this one is the most faithful, one of the most faithful trans adaptations from the Beast Wars TV show. But I do wish he came with like a little bit of some blast effects here, so that we can simulate his was it spider leg machine, tarantula leg machine guns. That would have been pretty cool to have on on this figure, like just one or two of them. But anyway, that's it for the honorable mentions. It's time to get to my top 10 list, starting things off with at the number 10 spot we have a tie, and that tie and honor goes to Studio Series 81 Wheeljack and Studio Series 84 Ironhide from the Bumblebee movie. Even though I don't like G1, I do like I'm not a fan of G1. I do like this version of Wheeljack. This one is pretty depict. This one just tells me that it's straight up Wheeljack. And I love the face sculpt on this guy. You know, he has the iconic ears and the mouth guard. And he was voiced by Stephen Bloom. That was pretty cool. And this is a really good translation of the G1 Wheeljack into live action, because it's the G1 colors and with the aesthetic of the live action movies. So a really fun figure to pose around, and has a really nice transformation and really good car mode too. And then for Ironhide and by extension Ratchet, well, thing is, I was not even supposed to get this guy. Um, I I like Bay vs Ironhide more than G1 Ironhide. I like Bay vs Ratchet more than G1 Ironhide. In fact, I have them in masterpiece form. If I can get the Jazz fell. Like we have his Bayverse masterpiece figure right here, and then I also have Ratchet, which I got last year. I'm gonna put that aside. Come on, Jazz, don't fall on me. I know you break apart. Well, I know you can split in half, but this ain't the time to die down, soldier. So like I said, I was not supposed to pick this guy up, but I got this as a Christmas present from my friend Josh. Really nice guy. And he let me choose what I wanted because I paid for dinner, and I said I'll just take this because there wasn't much to choose from at the GameStop. And I'm not trying to throw a shameless plug here because I genuinely think this is a really good mold. There's like no visible vehicle kibble on this guy. The car parts are really well integrated into the robot mode, and vice versa. And I think this guy along with Wheeljack creates one of the best streamlined vehicle modes in Transformers, where there's like no alternate kibble for either of the alternate modes. And what I love about this guy is that this chest here just tabs into the legs, and it creates and there's like no visible ridges sticking out in vehicle mode, and it creates a really clean uh, truck or van or ambulance that fits really well with the characters of Ironhide and Ratchet, depending on who you're going for. And I would totally buy the Ratchet figure, like the Ratchet. Now that I got this guy, I do want the Ironhide. I do want the Ratchet figure to go along with him, especially since I heard that the Ratchet figure isn't as loose as this guy. Like, okay, I'm trying to. Oh, now he's stiff, but when I bought this guy, he was pretty loose. And same thing for Wheeljack. You know, like this guy is loose, as you can see here, but he he's a genuine pleasure to have in the collection. He was the first Studio Series Bumblebee movie figure that I bought for my Cybertron battle. The Starscream was a gift from Hasbro as compensation for different broken figure, but I genuinely but this one was the first one I genuinely bought, and I really enjoyed this guy. And I am not a huge fan. I'm not a fan, period, of his Rise of the Beast head. I agree with fans. Like, that looks ugly. What was wrong with this? And if Paramount hears of our complaints, like they did with Megatron back in 2007, they still have time. Fix the damn head sculpt so that it resembles this more. Just give him the big ears and even the mouth guard. I want the mouth guard and the big ears. Like, just slap this head on on the new Wheeljack body, and we're good. But yes, Wheeljack and Ironhide did come in at my number 10 spot. Coming in at the number 9 spot, we have a rather late entry on this list because I did just get him like last week, I believe, and it's Studio Series Hot Rod. Yes, he stops the time. I didn't expect to like this figure so much, but the more I got to play with him, the more I realized just how accurate he is to a CGI model. And he also comes with this, and for the first time ever, he's not a retool. He's an entirely brand new sculpt with a lot of great articulation, and he has this very cool Stop the Time gun, as you can see here. And this is by far one of the best Studio Series figures that Hasbro has ever produced. The paint looks clean, it looks accurate, and even the head sculpt too. That looks like it was ripped straight from the movie. And I just love using him and using a sheet of plastic wrap to replicate his stop the time function. So that's always a pleasure to have, and that is why I really had to give Hot Rod the number 9 spot. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we have this guy, the Marvel Legends Black Panther from the Wakanda Forever wave. So the reason why I like Black Panther so much is because of his simplistic design. He's a dude in all black suit with claws. That's that's it. No stupid stripes, no scales, no armor, nothing too fancy. And I don't know why, but this is what drew me to reading Black Panther and what drew me to the character. And I think this figure, designed by Hasbro, and I think inspired by the what two I don't even remember what run it was, but I do own some comics where him and Storm were part of the new Fantastic Four, and he fought the Silver Surfer and had him in a I don't know what movie it's called, but anyway, this figure captures the simplicity of the Black Panther, and the mask. And the mask has very smaller wrinkles on his eyes that capture his expression, and the gloves they're complimented. I'm sorry if I'm babbling, but I genuinely love this figure. Okay, the gloves and the boots have these sculpted in lines that fit perfectly and complement the the black of this figure. I'm so sorry if I'm babbling, if I sound like I'm tired. I'm not. I just really like this figure. They did a really killer job, and there's not much I can say besides how Hasbro captured the simplicity of this guy, while also capturing the complexity of his character, and even this cape. Like, normally I don't like capes on figures because they're pain in the ass to pose around with, and sometimes they'll plug off. They won't plug in properly. What Hasbro did here was they didn't include a plug for this cape. So because of that, the cape is constantly in movement, and even if you have him in like this, uh, well, a pouncing pose. You can see the cave. You can see the dynamic of the cape and how it moves with the figure. It doesn't try to block its movements or anything like that. And that's why I have to give Black Panther the number 8 spot. Coming in at the number 7 spot is a figure that I genuinely did not expect to purchase, and he actually grew on me as time went on, and it's this guy, Legacy Bulkhead. First of all, this is a G1-ified Bulkhead from the Prime Universe, and like I just don't like the blocky G1 designs. But as I saw the figure more and more in store shelves, and I saw people genuinely liking the mold of this guy, I caved in. I caved in, and I bought him because I also saw this guy as Prime Bulkhead. Like it doesn't look like him, but the essence of Bulkhead is there. Like it's just like this head sculpt, and I felt like I was being a hypocrite um if I said this and I didn't buy him and I didn't like him, because that's exactly what they're doing with the Michael Bay film, sort of, and the Bumblebee movie figures. And I like Transformers Prime. Transformers Prime is probably my second favorite Transformers TV series, right up below Transformers Cybertron. And out of all three Prime characters, I think this one does the best job at capturing um, the the character's essence. And don't get me wrong, and you can trust me on this because Prime RC is my favorite RC. I like her. I like how badass Prime RC is, and not, she's not just like the female robot of the group, but her legacy figure just didn't do it for me, especially the head sculpt. Because I agree, she looks like a dude, and I just couldn't see. I could see RC. I could see the body being RC, but not the head being RC, which is the exact opposite of how I feel about Bulkhead. But I just think Hasbro did a better job at creating a new design for such a beloved character, and that captures his essence. I mean, you have the wrecking ball here, and then you have the top wheels here. So, given how split my opinion initially was towards this guy and how this guy grew on me, and the transformation is excellent on this guy. Articulation transformation is excellent. I can get him into some really cool dynamic poses. So, given how I initially felt about this figure and how it really grew on me, I really have to give Bulkhead the number 7 spot. Okay, remember how a few seconds ago I just said that Prime RC is my favorite interpretation of RC, and I still hate G1? Well, guess what? At the number 6 spot we have, the Studio Series 85 RC. I almost said 86, but no, this is the 85 RC, and this is by far one of the sleekest, one of the best RC figures out there. Like, I don't like the Bayverse RC. I will admit that. Michael Bay, I like Bayverse designs, but of the Transformers, of the designs and the characters he genuinely screwed up on, Wheeljack, Soundwave, and RC are the three that I genuinely despise. Even though I really like, even though I like the Mercedes Benz Soundwave, and I thought Satellite Soundwave was a great idea with a poor execution. But getting back into this figure, Hasbro, they captured the likeness to her CGI model perfectly, even down to that face. Yes, it has a little uncanny valley to her, but given how her other figures make her feel just genuinely more feminine, besides the Prime version, um, I think this one does a better job at capturing her G1 look without over exaggerating her feminine features. Like she keeps her blue colors, but it's like this darker. Sorry, she keeps her G1 pink colors, but it's in this darker pink, so it doesn't draw emphasis on her role as the female Autobot. And I did like Grady Lyle's performance as RC very much. The only gripe I have with this figure is her motorbike mode, where her chest here just stands, her chest just sticks out in the back, and her hands are left holding her pistols in a very awkward position. But otherwise, I really like this RC figure, and that's why I really had to give her the number 6 slot. At the number 5 spot, and the halfway mark, we have Studio Series Galvatron. This is a figure that needed a massive improvement by Hasbro. I had the original Galvatron figure, and over time I grew to despise it because it was a shell former and it was boring as fuck. That's how I put it. It was genuinely boring as fuck. This guy looks extremely screen accurate, and I like how they focus more on the robot mode and put aside the vehicle mode first, because they want to get the robot mode correctly and not make him a shell former, because it is genuinely hard to replicate. It's impossible to replicate his transformation from the movies, because he transforms into a cloud of dust before reforming into a vehicle. And I do like how the vehicle mode is a licensed vehicle mode, and it looks like the 2012, I think, Freightliner Argosy from the movie. And yes, his feet stick out in vehicle mode, but it's a small price to pay if you want to have a screen accurate robot mode of this guy without making a shell former. And plus, I like how Hasbro just concealed the vehicle mode within the back of the robot mode, and then yeah, parts of the vehicle mode are on the leg, but that's a small price to pay, and you're not going to really draw attention to the side of the legs unless you force yourself to. Not to mention, this guy is highly articulated. Like, you can get some really good dynamic poses, and he kind of poses like a ninja, really. So, with such a massive improvement on this guy, and really, and the fact that Hasbro just did an amazing job at avoiding the whole shell former thing while being faithful to both his modes, I gave Galvatron the number 5 spot. But I will admit, the older toy does have a bigger cannon, which I do prefer compared to this really small cannon. It's a minor gripe when you have this guy, when you have this really posable and screen accurate robot mode. At the number 4 spot, we have For the Royalty Inferno. Hasbro Hasbro killed it with this guy. This figure is 100% new sculpt. It has, and I couldn't ask for a better figure from them at the Voyager price point if I could. Besides maybe giving him better guns, but that's it. He has a movable jaw, so that you can have him pose with his pose like he's like a crazy maniac. And there's so much sculpted detail in the amp mode. You can feel the texture on this guy. There's even some black wash on him. And this is by far, this is highly screen accurate to his Beast Wars model. But for me, the biggest selling point on this guy is the butt propeller. The butt propeller wins it for me, because this thing rotates this thing rotates manually, so you can have him just you can spin it around to pretend he's flying, and then um it shifts up and down too. Like they killed it with the butt propeller, and but like aside, yes, the articulated jaw is Inferno's big selling point, but the fact that Hasbro put a lot of effort into this butt propeller to not only make it articulate, like this is the first Transformer we have with an articulate butt, and I know it sounds wrong saying that, but for a guy like Inferno, having an articulated butt is very important. And plus, look at the sculpted details on this wide circuitry. Hasbro didn't even have to do that, but they did, and it just really ups this figure. And to me, that this could have been a leader class figure. Like if they were to sell this at a leader class figure, maybe just upscaled it and added a few more accessories, I think I would have purchased the figure. But the fact that this is at a very reasonable Voyager class figure, Voyager price point, and he has all this going on for him, it just sells it. It genuinely makes me fall in love with this figure. And I didn't even get to the best part about this guy. I got this as a Christmas present from my best friend. Thank you, Steven. So I didn't even have to pay for this. And no, I'm not saying, like, I'm not throwing this as a shameless plug. And I am very thankful to have this here. But it really, really won me over. Hasbro, you nailed this guy. And I look for, and I hope you make more figures similar to him. At the number 3 spot, we have another 2-for-1, but this one I feel like is very necessary. Oh, Inferno fell, and that is Studio Series Voyager class Soundwave, and of course is my partner Ravage. I got this guy as a birthday present. Sorry. And I'm gonna start with Ravage first. I don't like core class figures. Okay, I don't like downsized versions of Optimus Prime or Megatron, but I think Ravage as a core class figure just really works well for it. Very articulated and transforms into an actual cassette. And like the missile here can actually plug into Soundwave's back cannon, which is always a plus for me. And he's the perfect complement to Soundwave's gimmick. And as for Soundwave, well, you can't have Soundwave without Ravage. Okay, I'm gonna put it like that. That's why I had to put these two together, because I feel like if you just own the Ravage without the Soundwave, it's not fun. I know, because I had this for like a month, and he was very fun to pose around with, but it just wasn't the same without Soundwave. And you can't have Soundwave and his chest opening gimmick without his own cassette. Again, this figure captures the likeness to Bumblebee really well. Um, this figure is really what won me over for the G1 design. At first, I was like, Dark of the Moon Soundwave is my favorite Soundwave. But once I got this figure, I saw this figure. This looks like a genuinely terrifying rope leader of the Decepticons in Megatron's absence. Hasbro did a really good job. And honestly, if this was released as a RED, I really wouldn't mind. Like, I don't purchase RED figures, but if this was an RED figure, I would not mind, because he doesn't transform in the film. And like, at first I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't transform into a boombox. That's okay, because why would leader of the Decepticons transform into an Earth mode when he hasn't been on Earth yet? But then and so to me, like, the hovercraft made sense until I transformed this guy, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the glorified Goblin Glider alt mode. But nevertheless, having this Soundwave figure really puts a lot of depth to the Cybertron to my Cybertron Battle Sea, and it's a genuinely good piece to have for any collector out there, especially Nozolik Studio Series. I know it may be a little harder to find at the moment, but if you can get him for market price, I would still recommend that you pick him up. Coming in at the number 2 spot is a character that I did not expect would see the light of day in Legacy. I knew that they were exploring that continuity when Metroplex, but I couldn't get Metroplex because it was a Commander class. No, it was just a Supreme class, and that was too high for my budget. And it's this lovely lady, Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 Override. Now, you may be asking, why would I give Override the number 2 spot instead of like Soundwave or I don't know, Galvatron? And to me, it's pure nostalgia. My first introduction to Transformers was Transformers Cybertron, and I remember seeing this gal on screen. And I thought she was pretty cool, and I never thought the Unicron trilogy would get re-explored again until they announced the Cybertron Universe Metroplex and the Velocitron Speedia line. So then I knew that Override was inevitable, and I was lucky enough to find her at my local Walmart. And I love her. This is an all new mold, and I'm glad Hasbro was able to figure out a budget to where they can create this new mold without instead of having to retool her from the Studio Series 86 Hot Rod, because this looks exactly like how she was depicted in the cartoon, except for some minor aesthetic differences, but I don't care. And even the black parts don't bother me because I think it works well for the figure. Like, yeah, she was great in the show. These parts were great in the show, but I think black part just looks better for me. And when I see this figure, I just think back to my childhood of when I was a kid, when I was watching Transformers Cybertron on television, and then hearing her say "Cyber Key Power." And genuinely, my biggest gripe with her is that she doesn't include a Cyber Planet key. I wish she did. Because like her blaster here has a port for a Cyber Planet key, and I would have been really happy if they included one first, just so she can yell Cyber Key Power. But that was not enough to stop me from putting her at the number 2 spot, because I genuinely have a lot of nostalgia for this figure. At the number 1 spot, we have a figure that I have been anticipating for years now, and I'm so glad that I was able to get him before the end of the year, and it's this guy. Studio Series The Fallen. I actually saved up my half of my birthday money to get this guy when he was only a mere rumor. This is another figure that needed another character that needed a massive improvement in Studio Series. Because I have the 2009 figure. I have one sealed inside my closet and one that's broken, and I don't like that figure. Okay, spring-loaded feet, clunky articulation. Like his arms are in a weird joint. So I was really looking forward to getting this version of the character in plastic form, and I wanted him to be leader class. Okay, I genuinely thought that for a guy like the Fallen, in order to capture him perfectly, he had to be leader class. And this guy is just amazing. These secondary forms do bug the hell out of me, but it's accurate to his CGI model, so it's not. So I would rather have accuracy over um, what is essentially a tiresome hindrance in articulation. Even then, it's not that bad because of how articulated these joints are, Since they're connected to ball joints, you can move them around, and it wouldn't. And yes, they detach easily, but the fact that they detach easily means that you can pose him without these the secondary forearms for better articulation. And another selling point for this guy is the fact that he has the mask is removable, so you have the his real face and has an articulate jaw, which is something we usually only see in Masterpiece and Inferno. And the this is accurate to his ILM model, which really shows the attention of detail and care Hasbro went into making this guy because of how much sculpt he has and the paint job, and he comes with his staff too. Like, yes, I wish there's paint on the staff, but I get it. All the paint budget went into his face, and and the staff splits into two, so you can recreate his famous fight scenes with Optimus Prime. I don't have the Studio Series 32 mold of Optimus, but I do have Jetfire right in the middle. I don't know if you can see it by the glare, but that the figure that I'm pointing to is Studio Series Jetfire from Revenge of the Fallen. Overall, for a figure that I have been waiting for throughout the year and saving my own birthday money for what was essentially a rumor at the time, this figure did not disappoint and is a massive improvement over the original. And I'm genuinely glad I get to have this guy around to pose with my Decepticons because he just he just stands out and he makes the Decepticons all the more terrifying. Now I claim your son. Die like your brothers. They were your brothers too. Just some fun lines. Like I'm gushing out over this guy because it's genuinely that good of a figure. Okay, sue me. So that is gonna do it for my top 10 action figures of the year. So I know this video is long, but I want to give a very thorough explanation on as to why I love each figure because I genuinely love them. You know, and some other figures that didn't make it on the list. We have the Star Wars Black Series Obi-Wan Kenobi. What was another one? Symbiote Spider-Man. I don't have that figure on me right now because I lent it to a friend and he didn't return it on time. And I would include all the Masterpiece figures that I bought this year, including the MPM 07 Starscream, but they weren't released this year, so I could not include those figures. But let me know what your top 10 figures of the year is, and obviously everyone's opinions are going to be different on who they think is the best action figure of the year is because we have different interests, we have different budgets. So yeah, please respect everyone's opinion, respect mine, and leave a like. And if you tell me what your favorite action figure of the year is, or which figure from my list you like the most, if I see it, I'll leave a heart. So I wish you guys a happy holiday, and I'll see you guys next time.